So, where were we? Just look at the camera right there. Alright, so where were we in this grand adventure? This grand tour of Europe? Ah, yes. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 of Part 2. It starts to get a little wonky here on out, so let's just jump right into it. Chapter 7. The next leg of the trip burnt us in bursts. We decided to follow up on a bike lead, and so reversed 2 cruisers over the phone with a rental shop in Orléans. The idea was to pick them up in a small town just south of there and ride to Nantes, where we could drop them off. It would be 4 days en vélo, zipping across La Loire River Valley from the center of France to the Atlantic Ocean. A different town each night. Rick and I had already felt rushed, spending 2 nights per city, but now we'd be pacing damn near lickety-split, kicking it with our own 2 feet on paved trails daily, spending the first night in Olivet till the morning. The most efficient way out of Paris was by train, domestic, so we aimed for La Gare de Lyon and left the city of lights, of love, and cafe lunches. No one paid us much mind on that walk to the station. We were ghosts, trekking through egocentric streets. The citizens were too busy to notice us that morning. The only ones who could see us were the dogs, and the small children handheld by grown-ups, which reminded us of Saint-Exupéry's wisdom on réalité. It might be presumptuous, but we definitely felt a city like Paris had too much going on to notice a couple of table scraps like us boys. The outside of the station reeked almost as bad as we did, only more of crushed cigarette butts. The scene resembled the very old, very rotten ticket rep lady inside who sucked 10 healthy minutes away from our lives. First, she wouldn't charge our cards for the tickets to Orléans. We had barely enough cash to make it across hundreds of kilometers by bike, so paying for a train ticket in argent came as a bummer. According to the rep, the card machine was hors service, though the only thing hors was her service, given she had visibly taken plastic from the gentleman who had gone before us. This sparked a heated debate, not only over our fiscal inconvenience, but over the woman's inflexible attitude towards 2 harmless, go-lucky backpackers. Rick, the rep, and I entered into a shouting match in English, then switched to French because all of a sudden La Miserable failed to speak to us in our tongue, flat out denying she had ever spoken to us in a barbarous language. From French, the 3 of us devolved to a form of communicating violent hand gestures and slaps against the counter. The businessmen behind us, who hadn't counted on arriving late to their out-of-town meeting, much less due to a pair of Americans, all started yelling and shouting and telling the woman to let us pass. "Arrête!" she screamed, putting out a pair of warm billets in exchange for cold cash. She leaned across the counter. Platform 4. We slapped the pits of our elbows at the last Paris salope we had to suffer and zigzagged out of there. Oh, intense. Yeah, so I don't know what got me into writing so cryptically, so obtusely, but essentially there was a fight at Gare de Lyon with Paris Salope, and she just didn't want to sell these boys tickets unless it was with cash, but the boys didn't want to spend cash. Super wild. Anyway, short chapter. The next couple of chapters are short chapters, so stay tuned.